welcome back to the channel on our continuing voyage to become better blues players. My name's Mark, and in this lesson we're going to look at 9 really easy licks to play that mix major and minor around box position 3. Okay, so what do I mean when we talk about box position 3? Well, we're referring to the minor pentatonic scale, and if you know minor pentatonic, there's actually 5 different box positions. Box position 3 is a bit unusual because we anchor our root note off our index finger. Most of the other box positions we end up playing our root note with our ring finger, but in this case we actually use our index finger. So the easiest way to kind of locate box position 3 is find your root note on the B string. We're going to be playing in the key of A, so I'm going to find the note of A on the B string and play that with my index finger. So that's here, fret 10 of the B string. Okay, and we love that because you get a particular vibrato when you shake with your index finger. You find like B.B. King and others kind of really love that. Okay, so it's those kind of sounds that we're going to be aiming for today. So having located our root note there, that gives us where box position 3 is going to be played on the neck. Okay, so the traditional way of playing box position 3, I'll put the diagram on screen, it would go like this. Okay, but for what we're doing today, and for the kind of blues that we play, we're just going to concentrate on the top 3 strings here. I must remember that index finger on the B string, that's our root note. As I keep saying, the root note's kind of like the note that sounds most in tune. It's the one that you can always resolve to. And it sounds great when you give it a shake like that. Okay, so that's the minor pentatonic. We've got those notes. Okay, we can get all of our really nice kind of pentatonic-y, minor pentatonic-y kind of sounds. But in that same position, we've got some really great major pentatonic notes on hand. So the major pentatonic would actually go like this. Okay, but I'll be honest, there's a little bit, I don't play this one here. There's a little bit kind of, doesn't quite sit right with me. Playing that note there, what's that, 9th fret, top E string with my index finger. That jump, because I like to play that root note with my index finger on the B string, the jump between the B and the E string using just my index finger, that's kind of, I don't like that. So I'm talking about this here, from there to there. So if I want to play basically those 2 notes, I don't like having to do that because I don't like having to use my index finger in that way. What I'm more likely to do is take the 12th fret of the B string and bend it up a whole tone. Okay. To me, that's more musical, it sounds better, it plays better, it's easier than trying to do the equivalent thing, jumping between fret 10 and fret 9 using our index finger. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so basically what that means then is our major pentatonic notes, I tend to play them like this. Okay? Okay, so that's kind of like how I tend to play them, those kind of around there. So we've got those major pentatonic notes, and they sound quite sweet when we play those. And we've got the minor pentatonic notes that we had before, and they kind of sound more sour. Major and sweet. Minor and sour. Now with the minor, you've got those dirty bends that we talked about in the last, well actually not the last lesson, the lesson before that. Okay, which kind of sound dirty. You can actually do that with the 12th fret as well. You can do a little dirty bend there. but it sounds more sweet. It doesn't sound as dirty. It's still a dirty bend, but it doesn't sound quite as dirty. So you get these two flavors. Major's nice and sweet, minor's nice and sour. And you can kind of lean into one or lean into the other depending on how you feel. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. That's what these licks are going to illustrate. So one other thing to mention, I've said this many times on the channel, but it's worth reiterating, is that over a 12-bar blues, over the 1 chord, now we're in A, so our chords are A, D and E, so we call those the 1, 4 and 5. If you don't understand why that is, go check out my video on basic music theory for blues guitarists. Okay, but we call it the 1, 4 and 5. Over the 1 chord, which in this case is A, we can use either the major or the minor sounds, either the sweet sounds or the sour sounds. You can kind of mix them as much as you like. But over the 4 and 5 chord, the D7 and the E7 chords in this case, you really want to just stick to the minor pentatonic. Those major pentatonic notes, they're not really going to sit well, particularly over that D chord. Okay, so that's kind of like, if there's any rules around this, that's kind of the rules around it. The 1 chord, the A, mix the major and minor as much as you like. Over the D and the E, we're going to just lean on the minor pentatonic scale. Okay, so what we'll do now is I'll show you a worked example that puts all of this together. So what you're about to see is me playing all 9 licks using those notes over a 12-bar blues backing track, and then we'll come back on the other side, pull the licks apart and talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so here's the example. So that was the example there, and what I'll do now is I'll pull all the licks apart one by one. But before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. The backing track that I was playing over, that is available. That's a separate track on YouTube. See the description below for access to that. If you're a Patreon supporter, you can actually have the MP3 as well. In fact, you've probably already got it because it's the same MP3 that we've been using for the past couple of lessons. Okay, tab is available for this lesson. If you'd like a free copy of the tab, drop me an email, details are in the description below. Just ask for the 9 easy licks in box 3 and I'll send the tab across to you free of charge. The tab is paid for by the Patreon supporters. I have to have the tab professionally produced because I can't read or write tab very well myself. So I have to pay that, and that is paid for by the Patreon supporters. So that leads me on to the last thing, which is a big thank you to the Patreon supporters and those who support the channel through my PayPal tip jar. Okay, all of that out the way, let's get on with the licks. Okay, so lick 1 goes like this, and it comes in immediately before the start of 12, on the kind of the preceding bar on the count-in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, very B.B. King inspired. Really simple, we're major pentatonic. We are 9 to 11 on the G string, and then hitting that root note home on the B string twice. And always got to give that root note a shake. Okay, I'll do it nice and slow. The only tricky bit with this is the count-in. When the backing track is playing, listen to kind of like after the 3rd beat, and then as soon as the 3rd beat's done, that's kind of when we're coming in. If you count along with the example, you'll see what I mean. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that was lick 1. Lick 2, very similar, that goes like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I'll do it nice and slow. So that was lick 2 there. Lick 3 now. Starts off playing major pentatonic notes, but then leans into the minor pentatonic to kind of give it a bit more sour as a bit of a contrast. Okay, and that goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now I'll do it nice and slow. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so actually this lick is now 2 bars long instead of being 1 bar long. But the only kind of tricky thing is we've got that bend up to the major third, bend in the 12th, a whole tone. And then we go into the minor pentatonic. So you get that real contrast between the two. Okay, that was lick 3. They were all over the A7 chord. Now we move to the D7 chord, and so we're going to just lean into the minor pentatonic licks. And so lick 4 goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, nice and slow. Okay, and now lick 5 goes like this. Okay, and nice and slow. Okay, so it starts with a pull off and then goes 13 on the B string, back to 10 on the top E, back to 13 to hold it and shake it a little bit on the B string, and then finally just ending with that 10 on the top E again. Okay, now if we look at those notes, that 10 on the top E, which is, you know, kind of used quite a lot in this lick and actually in the previous lick, that's the note of D. And our chord progressions move from an A chord to a D chord, so I'm kind of targeting the note of D a little bit. If you've been following my lessons, you'll see I do that kind of thing quite a lot. Okay, so that was lick 5. Let's do that one again up to speed. Okay, and then we come up to lick 6, and lick 6 goes like this. Okay, so we're back over the A7 chord. So again, we're going to do this idea of going mixing major and minor. So we're going to start a little sweet and then end a little sour. Start by taking the 12th fret of the top E string, bringing it up and then bringing it back down. Now, I didn't mention this before when we were talking about the notes, but actually if you take that top E string of the 12th fret and bend it up a whole tone, you get another note from the major pentatonic scale. So it starts like this, okay, which is very major pentatonic notes, and then the second half goes very minor pentatonic notes. Okay, and that 13 there, okay, I'm just giving that one of those dirty bends to make it sound extra bluesy. Okay, so the whole lick, nice and slow. Okay, so that brings us up to lick 7. Lick 7 is now going to play over the E7 and D7 chords. So we're going to go just stick to the minor pentatonic scale, and it's just going to sound like this. Okay, and I'll do it nice and slow. Okay, and I'm actually breaking out of box position 3 here and actually sliding up to 15 on the B string. You can slide up to that, or you could bend up to it, doesn't matter actually. When I was playing it, it's kind of semi-improvised when I put these lessons together, the actual example solo. And at that point, just because that's how I felt, I slid into it. So there we go. Okay, nothing too tricky there. It's all minor pentatonic. The only tricky thing is that we then slide up to that 15. Okay, so that was over the E7 chord to the D7 chord. Now we're going to go back and play a lick. This is going to be lick 8 over the A7 chord. And that goes like this. Okay, nice and slow. Okay, again, starts with that pull off. You'll notice I like that particular pull off. 12 to 10 on the top E. Okay, then 13 B string, so a very minor pentatonic now. Back to 10, back to 13. So 10 on the top E, 13 on the B. So, so far we've got this. And then we just end with a little stab back at our root note. Okay? Okay, and then that brings us up to our last lick. Lick 9 now is over the E7 chord, so we're going to target this E note here really. This is kind of where we've shifted our focus to. We're going to play A minor pentatonic, but targeting that kind of note, that particular note. And we're going to play that like this. Okay, and I'll do it nice and slow. Okay, so we're starting 12 on the G string, bend it up a whole tone, and then grab 10 on the B string. And then come off back to 12 on the G string, and then off to 9. And we're going to hold that and shake that because that's the E note and the underlying chord is an E. So actually, whole lick up to speed, and nice and slow. Okay, so there we go. That was all 9 licks. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please subscribe. Please leave me some comments. I always like to know that there's people out there watching this who are getting something from it. So please leave me a comment, hit subscribe, all of those kind of things. If you're interested in getting access to more lessons and more materials, please check out my Patreon site. Take care, and I'll see you again.